Jai Shriman Narayan. Jai Shriman Narayan. Jai Shriman Narayan. I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagat Guru Sudarshan Acharya Ji Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to our Purva Acharyas. I pay my obeisances to our 12 Alvars. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi. And I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome all of you here physically at the Sri Narayan Dham in Durban, South Africa. I welcome those that's watching this discourse locally, nationally, and internationally. And I welcome in advance those that's going to be watching this discourse on YouTube, TikTok, and the various groups from around the world subsequently. A special welcome to Prince Hlathikulu and his wife, our princess. And I want all of us to stand in a moment of silence to observe the passing of King Hlathikulu and his wife, Simha Kaur Singh. Thank you. Right at the outset, I want to state that when the prince found that his mum was a Hindu, he began looking for Hindus to support him in finding the culture and tradition of his mother. His mother started coming into his dreams and instructing him from the age of 5 or 6, and she controlled all of the prince's actions only through his dreams. And now and again she spoke in Hindi, and it was very confusing for the king, for Prince, to have an Indian woman come into his dream. And people thought that he was possessed. So as in all our cultures, when somebody is possessed, what do? We try to cleanse that person to various rituals. And the prince was so strong in his conviction that that Indian woman that was in his dream was no ordinary spirit. And he bypassed a whole lot of difficulties in his life, and he was loyal to his mother, although I think 80% of the time, up until the time she was revealed, he did not even know that that was his mother in his dreams. So in pursuance of finding his mother's traditions and culture, and the prince coming from a background not knowing what Hinduism was, he underwent a whole lot of abuse by a temple. I'm not going to mention name and membership, but the prince was abused, racially abused, and then he was abused in a business transaction by Indians as well. So Prince, on behalf of all these Indians that abused you, I want to apologize. I want to ask for your forgiveness so that you may move on. And as you would have experienced, all the Indians are not the same. So, on behalf of the Sri Narayan Dham, and I think the greater Indian community of South Africa, I apologize for the abuse that you have suffered in pursuing Mum's culture and traditions. So, whilst he was in this abused state at a particular temple, the prince went outside at that temple to a specific murti, and he cried out, and he stated at that murti that he knows through some knowledge that only a guru, a bona fide guru, can dispel his darkness and connect him to his reality. And the prince cried at this murti. He cried and cried and cried at this murti to find his guru. And today he is seated in the presence of his guru. On the 5th of May this year, the prince is going to take initiation and adopt his guru for life. Next year, 5th of May, the princess, advised by myself, she is ready to take initiation today. She is not as bad as Satish Bhai and the prince been stuck to meet. Alright? So the prince is going to take initiation on the 5th of May. Somebody just check October 9th, the first weekend after October 10th. Check quickly. First weekend after October 10th. 15th. That is after the 10th. On what date is the 10th? And 3rd? Tuesday. So Prince, I want to gift you from this ashram. This year is our 10th year we are in practice. And every year we celebrate my birthday together with the ashram's birthday. It's a week apart. So what's the date? 15th. So on the 15th of October this year, the prince is going to get married at the ashram. 15th of October this year, the prince is going to get officially married in the San tradition and custom and in the Hindu tradition and custom. So I've asked my chairperson to summon Gautam Acharya. Currently he is in America, so that he can perform a wedding ceremony according to the Pancharatra Agama system. If for whatever reason Gautam Acharya cannot make it to marry you, then we will get a local priest. Or maybe we'll do your wedding from wherever Gautam Acharya is through Skype. Okay? So, to reconcile all the abuse that you received in the past couple of years from the Hindu community, we bind you off for the wedding. This is a program I set into motion many, many years ago, Prince. I didn't tailor make it for you. I set up the Oneness program, social cohesion. It's in my constitution. My constitution was adopted in 2017. So this is nothing new that the Sri Narayan Dham is doing. I set up the platform, and now you are one of many Oneness programs that we're going to encounter and encountering currently on our way forward. So what is also amazing, from the Indian community, we have the Muslim community that's supporting the Prince 100%, and the Christian Hindu community. So you have the Muslim Indian community, the Christian Indian community, and the Sanatan Dharmic Indian community. And you also have one Jew from the Indian community, Vishwadhar Ramanuj Das, who is also supporting you. So you got many denominations from the Indian community that is supporting you. According to Prince, we had lunch yesterday at the ashram, Prince and Princess, and according to him, the memorandum of agreement that we signed 3 years ago, 70% of it is already fulfilled. 70% of his request to the Sri Narayan Dham has been already fulfilled. Yet he was sitting with this project at another temple with some other people for the past 4 years, and it has not moved anywhere. And in just 3 weeks, and I think I know the Prince for 6 weeks, we have moved like lightning. So for those of you that's watching the Guru with a white beard, don't be fooled that the Guru is an old man, Prince. You are living proof how fast the Guru can move. And when the Prince came here, he was in a dark position. He did not know whether to move forward, backward, sideward, upward, or downward. That is when I met the Prince 6 weeks ago. Yes, Prince? Today, the Prince is asking the Guru to pull handbrakes. He can't catch up. He can't catch up with the Guru. So whoever is here at the ashram, if I could move mountains for the Prince, then I can move anything for you. You need not be in any dark space at the Sri Narayan Dham. There should be no darkness, no depression, no suffering, no negative feeling or thoughts if you are connected to the Guru. Your problem is a particle to the Prince's problem. Is a small particle to what the Prince was facing. So I stated this in Marisburg, and I want to state this again. The Prince is a very strong man. He has rejected, in his quest for the truth, he has rejected being bought and sold. The government wanted to buy him and reject his people, and a group of businessmen wanted to buy him and reject his people. He rejected both the government and he rejected those set of businessmen. And only a real born king would do that. You agree? You agree? He rejected the government's offer of a huge salary every month. And he rejected these businessmen that did not want him to include his people in that transaction. So we have a real king seated amongst us. And I said in a discourse before I met Prince, when I was discussing the ABC to spirituality, and I said that the Guru is incomprehensible. You cannot write. There is not enough ink or not enough paper and pens on this earth to write the glory of the Guru. And I said, kings leave their kingdom to be followers of a Guru. You all remember? And here's a king seated in our presence and our midst. And we're going to, once again in a world first. This ashram has so many world firsts that we lost count. But the Prince taking initiation since the 1,000 years of Lord Sri Ramanuj's Sri Sampradaya, he will be the first son king of the Sri Sampradaya. And that's history in the making. There's so many facets that we are involved with Prince Hlathikulu. We're going to rewrite history, both Indian history, Sun history, and African history. All the history in the history books that you read is colonial history. They divided and they conquered all the tribes in exchange for a Bible. In exchange for a Bible. And the Prince was discussing yesterday, I think on Friday, where he said that these exponents, the West, they traded the Bible for the land of the people. Southern Africa belonged to the Khoi, or San, Grikas, gave them the Bible, converted them to Christianity, and took the land. Yes or no? And they did it around the world. The Bible was traded to rob indigenous people for their land, right round the world, in every country. And we need to rectify this. The West have to rectify this. And we also discovered, Prince, or the Prince stated on Friday, I think Friday, that the most practicing Christians are not those people who expounded and traded the Bible. The West is living an unchristian life round the world. Wherever there are churches, the churches are empty. Those people that expounded Christianity expounded it in such a way, not for the purpose of bringing people to God, but to trade and remove land from people. So we're going to boldly expose and get these Western people, these colonizers, to apologize to the world. We are going to do it in our lifetime. So when they traded the Bible for land, they created a false narrative, historical false narrative. And this discussion that I am going to is sensitive. There can be violent repercussions, because once you are brainwashed into who you are for your whole life, and here comes a guru and a prince and give you a shake on your shoulder and tell you, no, 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 no. You are not this, you are that, then it is not going to be easily assimilated. But somebody has to do it. Somebody has to do it. On the side of the Indian community, we are adamant that the 1860 settlers were just a part of the 1860 settlers. And I'm sorry, Julius, we were here before you. I'm sorry, Julius, we were here before you. And we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. In fact, we might ask the EFF to disband and leave. This is our home. We've been here since creation. We've been here since creation. And next week, in the Ramayana week, the prince and the son community is connected to Lord Sri Ram. Prince and the son community is directly connected to Lord Sri Ram, directly connected to the Ramayana. And next week, the Ramayana last happened when? 2 million years ago. The Ramayana last happened 2 million years ago, and I'm going to connect next week evidentially. Whatever the Guru does, he does with evidence. I'm going to connect the Sun community, and the reason why the Prince is here with the Guru, it goes back millions and millions of years. Goes back millions of years. The Prince has studied. He got a doctorate. You have a doctorate? A master's. Prince has a master's in theology, tracing Christianity back to its roots. So the Prince will do maybe 2 discourses next week in the Ramayana week. He will consolidate what I am saying through my spiritual vision. He will consolidate what I am stating through my spiritual vision. He will do it academically. He will do it with evidence. This is a world of evidence. Everything in the material world, we need to provide evidence. All of you understand? So, this is another play of the Supreme Lord. Nothing is a coincidence. The Prince's mom and dad were vegetarians. Prince, your mom and dad were. I can't see how you are stuck with meat. But mom and dad were vegetarians. Your wife is enjoying this. The princess, as I said, can take initiation today. She don't have a problem with vegetables. All right? Prince is on a 50-50 meat guru. But I'm sure on his way, wife will put him in his reality. All right? So I think she met me last week. She just knows me for 8 days today. And she has decided to change her entire life. She has accepted the Guru. as the ultimate, and I heard her advising the prince during lunch yesterday that you can only follow one master. And I told the prince, he told me, Guru, I asked him, Prince, if you want to take initiation, if you want to belong to me, then your wife must be on the same page. And the prince said, no, Guru, I don't think so. That's very, very hard. And I warned him, I said, Prince, your wife may be closer to me than you. And he said, no, Guru, I don't think she's going to accept this system. And I think she's ahead of the prince. I met the prince 6 weeks ago, I met her 1 week ago, and I think she is ahead of the prince. She understands the system greater than the prince, for she said the golden sentence, you can only serve one master. So, there was a request on TikTok when the prince last spoke. And Indian people are awakening to the reality that 1860 narrative should be bust open now, but with evidence, not because a guru is saying this. It must come with archaeological evidence, it must come with historical evidence. And the prince, and there was a request by somebody for part 2. So, part 3? Okay. I was tired last week, Hemita, so I missed part 2. Part 3. So, Prince, I give you the floor for part 3. The context will be our relationship, and we want to dispute the 1860 narrative. So there has also been evidence that was handed to a particular Singh family, and that evidence was given to the Institute of the 1860 settlers, and we're going to start interacting with them, and we want to make all the evidence public. The Constitution allows, Jessica, for request for this type of request that we are making. All right? So our journey is going to be a long and arduous but successful journey. We're going to see the birth of the next Hlathikulu king this year. We're going to see the marriage of the princess and the prince, and we're going to reclaim what belongs to us, all in a dignified way. No protest, Prince, no national shutdowns, no protest. In a dignified way, we're going to get whatever belongs to us. If other settlers are staking claim, other settlers are staking claim from the San and the Khoi, then we have enough legitimate evidential reasons as title holders. Remember, in any legal dispute, and it happens a lot in the Indian families, Prince, whenever a will is not made and parents die, and there's some money, there's some land, there's some houses, children can hire a hitman to eliminate their own brothers and sisters for the title deed. Prince, So when the court looks at a process like this, they have to pass all the settlers until they reach who was settled there first. And who was settled there first will be the title deed owners. So we're not asking for the whole of South Africa or Southern Africa. We are asking for pieces or hectares of land where our ancestors thrived. And I have no doubt that this process is going to go very, very fast. And what is going to help us is that President Zuma has already submitted a claim for the indigenous people of South Africa. He has already submitted a claim. And I think that would be our basis. That would be our basis. So, without going into comprehensive details, I would like to ask the Prince for part 3. Prince, I'm still shocked about part 2, but I'll go in my kutir after satsang and find it. Jai Shriman Narayan.
Thank you, Guru, for awarding us this wonderful opportunity to express ourselves as Aboriginals of South Africa, because the history that we have in our school is the history that was written about us. We never had an opportunity to document our lives. It has been the mentality of the Europeans. They can find us here with the Guru and come and wanted to be part of us. After this, they will write a book. They say that they've discovered us. And then they talk about us. And there's no talk about what Guru was saying, but they are talking about their experience about us. This is history. The discoveries, all their discoveries. Whenever they went, they found people there practicing their culture, living their lives. But they will say, we have discovered. But there were already people there. This is a problem that we are facing. This is a challenge that we have to take, as Guru has indicated. Since I am touching a very, very, very controversial topic, I just wanted to limit myself to have a topic, Guru, when I'm talking about this subject. The topic that I wanted to talk about is the Stone Age of the history of Hlathikulu Indian in South Africa. This topic is going to link us to the narrative that Guru has just talked about, touched about Lord Rama, about the establishment of the Sri Lanka Bridge by the forest dwellers. We are the descendant of Hlathikulu. Hlathikulu is the lord of the forest. As we know that bridge in Sri Lanka was constructed by the forest dwellers. So in Hindi in Hindu language, when they talk about Hlathikulu, they said is Hanuman. So we are the descendant of Hanuman. This topic of the Stone Age is going to link us to that narrative when Lord Rama requested help from our Supreme Master, which is Kamata, to intervene in the construction of that bridge. Guru did mention in his first discourse that we are not just united physically, we have been united spiritually, because I just wanted to discuss, maybe to mention Kam. Kam is Mother Lakshmi. Guru, I did mention to him, when I was crying, I just went there to Mother Lakshmi, and I cry, and I said, wherever the Guru is, just pull him. I wanted to see him here. Now I'm tired. If you didn't bring the Guru to my attention, then, and I invoke the spirit of Kam, the spirit of Kamata, which is, all the deities that Guru did mention in his first discourse, there is similarities that give an explanation of that old temple that we find there in Mpumalanga. Because that temple predates the history of Indians in South Africa in 1860, because the archaeologist agrees that, according to archaeological report, that temple existed there in 1400. So it justifies what we are doing today in this program of social cohesion. I just wanted to talk about 4 things in this in this presentation. I will take less than 10 minutes. The background, the definition of words, archives, history of Nabantukwas or Black Indians, archaeological evidence, civilization and mining, and conclusion. Firstly, I would like to give the background about myself. I am the living son of Simha Singh Hlathikulu, the last queen and king of Hlathikulu kingdom, who were beheaded by the apartheid regime. There was a kingdom and the queendom. This marriage between us and Sin, or the Indians, is an old marriage, because my mother is from the Sin family. So I'm the surviving son. And for succession purposes, after they were murdered, I was taken to Eastern Cape in the family of Ngulwana. Thereafter, my names and surname was changed from Hlathikulu Ishmael to Buyisile Sidwe Ngulwana. The existing name and surname is the adoptive name. I grew up using those particulars, but we are in the process with the Sri Dham and Guru to change the adoptive particulars to the original particulars. I am the historian of Bushmen, or Sen, or satellites, and also an archivist. Before Guru, I went to school. I was groomed by our ancestors to understand the history of our people. The last archivist was Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe, the founding president of the Pan-African Congress, the only dangerous prisoner who lived during the time of Nelson Mandela. The Robert Mangaliso Claw was created to make sure that this archivist of ours does not interact with the people. And also, in that process, all our literature was destroyed by the apartheid regime. His wife, Mother Robert Mangaliso Sobuka, kept all the documents, the maps. So I was so fortunate to be groomed by him. and also by his son. So we are working closely with Robert Mangaliso Trust. So what we are talking about is legit. What we are talking about, they are pioneers that shaped the history of South Africa. Even now, the memory of Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe is one of the memories that has been suppressed by the ruling party. There is no document that you can find in the university, in the high school, that talks about Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe. Also, it gives an evidence when you are saying that all our books that detailed this history that we were talking about was destroyed. So we are in the process of rewriting our history. And one must ask himself a question: why this history was destroyed? It must be a question that a person that has to ask himself. What is important about this history that makes the apartheid regime to destroy it? Why the king of this kingdom that we are talking about was killed? Why there is no mention of this queen of the Indian nation who was beheaded by Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi? Why thereafter the queen was beheaded, a lot of Indians were given land? One has to ask himself those questions before we give an explanation to the people that why the narrative of Queen Simha Singh is buried. Why people does not want to talk about it? Why after he was murdered, people who were close to her were compensated with land, with farms, with businesses? This is the question that we have to ask ourselves. And then by trying to answer those questions, we will understand where we are, just because of our destiny was shaped by a specific people. So we just to appeal to everybody. This is not a preaching. Guru was talking it on a spiritual level, but we are in the process of engaging the academics, because we need to reveal this history that is hidden, because it's going to explain about the history of the black Indians. Because the topic today, we trace the history of the black Indians from the Stone Age, the history of the coolies, of the Zulus, they call us Amakula. The other people, they call them Indians. We know for the fact that Indians, there is two streams of Indians that arrives here in South Africa. There were those who arrived here in 1860. There were those who were here, which is a part of this topic that we're talking about. We call them Hlathikulu Indian Bushmen. So in the explanation, I just wanted to explain, before I go to the definition, one thing that I wanted just to touch. Guru did mention that I also graduated Masters in History of Christianity. I was the practicing priest. I graduated my junior degree in University of Western Cape. I studied in the seminary of the Methodist Church of South Africa. I was a priest. I was not like those priests who just woke up and say, just put a collar. I went to school. And then I led an organization, and I was the general secretary of the South African Council of Messiahs of South Africa. So I studied this to school before I did my masters. Because my masters, I studied James Stewart's archives. James Stewart's archives, it talks about the history of the Zulus from 1900. You know, when my mother was appearing on my dreams, she inspired me to look beyond James Stewart's archives, because James Stewart's archives was a native magistrate of Natal. So he's the one that constructed history. Our history was deliberately destroyed. But James Stewart's archives, James Stewart decided to call all the elders of the Zulus to rewrite history in 1885. In my honors, I just wanted to look at the interest of James Stewart's archive. What was the interest of James Stewart's archive? If you read his letter, writing a letter to his mother, he was saying that, "Mother, I am writing this history." He said, I am writing this well. I want all the native to come and drink in my well. This is a white person. He's talking about, he's writing the history of the people. He's a foreigner in the land. So he wants all the future. Remember that history shaped the future of the future generation. Without knowing history, we cannot know the future. Because the future is shaped by the history. So in 1885, James Stewart's archive, we can go to Campbell archive here in Durban and just Google it. All those, maybe who've got time, they can go to Campbell here at Durban, and also to Peter Marisburg in University of KwaZulu-Natal. Just Google, just request any information about James Stewart's archives so that we can understand where we are coming from. So James Stewart's archives reveal the history of the Zulus. So my mother said to me, you know, if there is this history that was created, just look at the stone history. And I couldn't understand. And he taught me meditation. He said, if I can teach you meditation, you master, you can bring India, come to you, you can see what happened. So in my dreams, my mother taught me how to meditate. And then when I went there to start James Stewart's archive, I meditated. When I was collecting the notes, when I went to the caves, remember that since our history has been destroyed, there is cave now that is having the paintings of the Bushmen. I used to go there and meditate. When I meditate, and then the entire picture on how Bushmen were murdered, it just came to me. So that is why I was so passionate and believed on my mother's teachings, because he taught me on something that other people didn't understand, because I was meditating and bring things that happened in centuries. And he also mentioned that if you agree, me and your father, we can live in you. So it was a confusion. So, but Guru is still explaining that even to me now. But ever since I journeyed with Guru, but everything that she was talking about, it's a reality. Now, the definition of words. Our interaction, like I said, that we are Hlathikuas. Hlathikua is an Aboriginal name that was translated from the Aboriginal language. These languages that were destroyed by the colonial regime, by the Christians. In fact, the people who constructed history are the Christian missionaries. So they destroyed in fact, our religion, Guru, was Hlathikulu religion, which is similar to Hinduism. It's one of the oldest religion that was destroyed. So on the literature and academic literature, the scholars like Robert Sobuko, they were argued about the pre-creation theories, that we cannot say that the world is 6,000 years based on the story of Adam and Eve when God created Adam 6,000 years ago. So the historians and our historians together with the historian of India, they said, no, there is no truth on this. In India, there are buildings that is having million years. Even here in South Africa, there are buildings that is having a million years. So the world cannot be 6,000 years ago. So it was the theological debates that were ongoing during the time, and that is why our religion was destroyed. There was a religious war where we fought, our ancestors fought with Britain, with the Christians, and people were murdered. After that, the Britain commissioned the Zulus that if you bring the head of the Bushman, you will be compensated with the land. So that is why we were hunted like animals. So if you bring 3 heads, you will get hectares of land. So that thing, it was encouraging everybody to kill us. That is where our people decided now, okay, since they are killing us, let's assimilate among the Zulus. That is why you will find us among the Zulus, the Xhosas, the Tembus, in all the black tribes. Because people were just running for their own lives. Because it was the commission of Britain. Anybody that caught a bushman and bring his head, you'll get the land. This is the history that we're talking about. Till Guru, there's a saying that the judgment you are doing, you will be judged the same. When Langal Balele was commissioned by Shepstein to kill all the bushmen in escort, and people were asking to Langal Balele, why are you killing these people? And then Langal Balele said that these people are cannibals. And our ancestors, when we were running to Lesotho, through Drakensberg, they said, if you are saying that you are animals, you will see it to your generation. Your generation will be cannibals. It was in 2017 when people there in escort were eating people. And then they were handing themselves to the police and say, we are tired. We have been eating people. That is where Guru we have started. We have told by the prophet that this is the time of compensation of the nation. Because those things they were saying that we were doing, now they are doing it practically. Because people in escort is known as one of the place of the bushmen. So people there were eating people and they were handing themselves to the police. You can Google that. You can see on Google how people were handing themselves. They said that we have been eating, we are tired. Just see, because it was an explanation that was given to people when our ancestors were massacred. That we are wiping this nation just because these are cannibals. I don't want to dwell much on that, but I'm using 2 sources that later Guru we will talk about it maybe on the second session. My speech is centered on the following archival document, which is archived in Nabatean archives. I just want everybody who is here to Google the name Nabatean. Nabatean city was destroyed. It's just a city that was built in stone. In these archives, there is 2 important books that no one want to talk about it, even the historians. The topic of the first book is saying Indo-Africa towards a new understanding of the history of Sub-Saharan Africa by Don Cyril Homnick. This book reveals that the mining in South Africa started a long time ago, before, during the time of Jesus Christ, we can say, during the time of Jesus Christ. Dravidians and Komatis were mining gold in Mpumalanga. So there is temple there, they call it Itaka. Itaka is the same word we call it a temple in our language, Itaka. So that temple is called Itaka. It's a moon temple. It's having the wheels of the moon. Remember, one of the tradition of the Bushmen, we observe the moon rise, the sun rise. So it is having those wheels, that temple. The second book that I am using is the Indian Satellites, Understanding the Slave Trade of Sub-Sahara, by Kaur Simha Hlathikulu, which is my mother. So I just wanted to talk about the discovery of my mother. My mother is a son of Mika Singh, one of the famous athletes in India. And also, he was a soldier. He was also an actor. So my mother, my grandfather got my mother out of the wedlock. So when he got married, he gave my mother to his girlfriend, Cuthbert, in Australia. So my mother grew up in Australia, and then he was abused by the white woman. Then he ended up leaving her, and then she lived his life with the black Indians in Australia. So when he was there, she had an interest, because what she discovered is that those black Indians of Australia and Canada, and also that had the link also with the red Indians in America, some of them, they trace their roots here in South Africa. According to the contradiction that interested my mother, when she was tracing the history of Bushmen in South Africa, it started in 1860. So they couldn't get the historical records that can locate them in South Africa, those black Australian Indians, and also Canadians Indians, the black one. So she went to meet Milka Singh, one of the activists of Australia that led to the recognition of the Aboriginal rights in Australia. And then she explained her frustration about the research that she was been trying to consolidate. Then Mr. Mabo said she will invite my father, because my father at that time, remember, it was after the people went to exile in 1960. During the exile military training, people were in exile. There was a military wing of the ANC, Umkhonto weSizwe. Also in Hlathikulu, we had our own military wing, which is APLA. APLA is Azanian People's Liberation Army. So my father was moving around the countries, fundraising for the money to sustain their military operation, also asking for the donation for the weapons for their military camp. So Mr. Mobu invited him. Eventually they met my mother. So my father indicated when they had a meeting, look, I'm going to India. There we've got an APLA camp in India, in the area of Jarawai, in Adamash Island. It's where we train people there. We have been working there with Milka Singh. And my father said, look, I was told that Milka is my father, but I never met him. Since we have been going there, can I go with you? So what I'm trying to say is that in India, there are Jarawas who were there. We did talk about them, Guru, on the previous discourse, that were there. So my father was working with them, and also with city people. City people were taken here as slaves by the Ngunis and the Ishmaelites to India, because the colonial regime had various ways of destroying our communities. Some of the people were beheaded, some of the people were sank on the sea, some of the people were taken to slave trade in India, in Zimbabwe. Currently there are people who are in Zimbabwe who are speaking Xhosa, who were taken by Cecil John Rose. And also others are in Australia, others are in Canada, in France, in London. We remember the discoveries of Sarah Patman. One of the things that Guru wanted to reveal, that Sarah Patman is the princess of our kingdom. When we were starting to bring her remainings to South Africa, the entire program was hijacked by the Griquas, and then he was named, new name, Sarah Patman. It is not her original name. Her original name is Hlathikazi Grootboom Hlathikulu, the elder sister of Nandi, the mother of Shaka. And we did mention that Shaka was never be the king of the Zulus. He was the king of Hlathikulu. So it's those things that we wanted to reveal about history, because this is a history that is there in school. Our children are learning this history, and this is a distorted history. So what I'm trying to say is that people were taken here as slaves. So in this book of my mother is unpacking that, and how she was trained in martial arts in India, met some various monks training her to do the meditation. And when she came back, she was one of the leaders, the commanders of APLA. So she died on the war zone here in Pietermaritzburg. That is why he was killed, because he was one of the chief commanders of APLA. So on her book, she reveals that Pietermaritzburg was the city, similar to Swaziland. Swaziland, there's a Hlathikulu town there. It's one of the oldest cities in Swaziland. And also Pietermaritzburg was a city. So she is arguing that people were first removed from there, the black Indians, to Northdale. So that's why we see the majority of them there in Northdale. And then in the book, she explained her frustration on how this narrative was distorted by Gandhi, by the descendant of the Indian slaves, because they were part who joined hands together with the Ethiopians. Because ANC was formed by the Ethiopians, those blacks who are from Ethiopia. Remember, we did mention that Ethiopia is for Ethiopians. China is for the Chinese. India is for the Indians. Nigeria is for the Nigerians. Hlathikulu, this place, South Africa, was Hlathikulu before it was changed to Republic of South Africa. So my mother was saying that Hlathikulu for Hlathilites. So this is the history. So in that book, she explained the narrative on how the narrative was distorted, because when the historian writes about Pietermaritzburg, they say that Pietermaritzburg was the kraal of Dingaan. So, you know, there's a difference between a kraal and a city. So obviously when the place is called a kraal, there is no development. So my mother said he spoke about the stones that are there on the building of Pietermaritzburg. Compare the architecture of Pietermaritzburg with India, those old buildings. Remember, us as Hlathikuas, we are stone. I just wanted that name, Kuru. Yes. So we have been working with stones. That is why now, even if you can go to the mountain, you will see the painting of the sun. That is dated. I will mention on the following topic that if you can go there, you will see the architects of the sun on the stone. It's having years and years and years and years. So when the historians write a history about the Bushmen, they paint a narrative that we are uncivilized, we are uneducated, we were civilized during the time of Jan van Riebeeck here in 1652. And they talk about everything that since we were Christianized, it's where we became human, through Christianity. So that is where the development started, according to them. So this literature that I'm talking about, I invite everybody who is here to consult it. So it will give a person another dimension of the history of South Africa. That the history of South Africa is not a true history. Remember that the history of South Africa is centered around Shaka. If there is a false story about Shaka, if there's a false story of civilization, can we trust history? Can we trust people who wrote history? Because how can you trust your colonizers? A person who was a colonizer, can we trust what they were writing about us? That is why we are saying that we propose that we need to rewrite our history. Now, Guru, I wanted just to touch about the archaeological evidence in Mpumalanga. So I want to invite everybody. We have tried to put this evidence on Google. You can Google Mpumalanga. Just look at the origin of Mpumalanga. Forget about the distortion, because the person who have created website, he always put Bantu, because you know our history has been stolen. Because since we are Black, Guru, because other people they were saying that we are Zulus, we are Xhosas, but we are not. We are not, we are Aboriginal. So our history has been stolen Even when Malema is talking about, this land belongs to the African, this belongs to the blacks. The blacks are Makwerekwere. If they call the Zimbabweans a Makwerekwere, the blacks are also a Makwerekwere because they are the foreigners in this country. They found us here. Even history attests that. But what we wanted to encourage our people is to own this history, is to support us, is to support Guru on this conscious awareness. The name Mpumalanga means the sunrise. The name Mpumalanga means the sunrise. I did mention here that we observe the moon and the sunrise and the sunset. That is why we've got that temple there in Mpumalanga. The stone and Hindu temple was discovered in Mpumalanga. Those stones explains our relationship with the Indians. It can be dated during the time of Lord Ramana, when the bridge was constructed with stones. If we are specialists on the stone, we can Google. You see, you can Google Nabateans. I just wanted to go Google briefly on the name of the black Indians. Initially, the black Indians were known as Nabantu Kwas. The intermarriages between the Ishmaelites. Ishmaelites are the descendant of Ishmael. Ishmael, the eldest son of the biblical Abraham. So the first son, the descendant of the first son of the son of Abraham, which is Naboji, are called Nabateans. So I said earlier on that this literature is on Nabatean archives. So the black Indians came out of those two marriages, similar to the black Jews. If you go to Limpopo and Swaziland, you'll find the black Jews, they call it Abashab. It was our interaction with Israelites. So we have interacted according to the Bible. If you go to the Bible, we can trace our existence during the time of Abraham. Because these religions, the Abrahamic religion, the Christian, they trace their evolution during the time of Abraham. Our history is beyond Abraham, is beyond Adam, the person that was created by God. Interestingly, Guru, this God that they are talking about, Nkulunkulu, is one of our deities, the deity of wisdom. The deity that is worshipped by the Zulus, Unkulunkulu, in Xhosa is Uthixo, is one of our deity of wisdom. The deity that has been worshipped by the Zulus, Unkulunkulu, is one of our deity. That is why we are saying that even their language, our language is the foundation of Zulu. It's the foundation of Xhosa. It's the foundation of Swazi, because they found us here. So everything of theirs is built on us. So this is a history that we wanted to reveal. We want to invite the academics, historians, anthropologists, and so forth, to come and partner with us to unveil this groundbreaking research that Guru has discovered. With those words, I thank you, Guru.
Prince, I see you did not forget your preaching style from the church. So you'd have noticed how many years the Prince has been preaching in the church. Prince do not need a mic. Next time, don't hand him the mic. He's a bona fide preacher. Is this story not unique to all of you seated here today? Does it not touch your soul? Because we were always regarded as fourth class citizens in South Africa. We were like the leaf. There will be a day that Sri Narayan Dham will change that and show you that we were never the leaf in South Africa. We were always a tree. But the leaves are calling us leaves. Yes? And made us fourth class citizens. We are not fourth class citizens. Yes, 1860 did happen. It is just one fraction of what happened. We have been living here for millions of years. I'm going to start my discourses on creation. And at creation, no nation came after all the nations were created. Creation only happens at once. All the nations were created simultaneously. So there's no new nation and old nation. And I'm going to show you, as per Vedic injunctions, when creation took place, who the Supreme Lord created and where He placed His children. So Prince, you take in creation back 6,000 years ago, the word Abraham comes from Brahman. Abraham comes from Brahman. And Abraham was a Brahmin. He had a beard like myself. He left India, Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia at that point in time was practicing Sanatan Dharma. And he was a Brahmin who left his Sanatan Dharma identity and he went to Egypt. So he was a Brahmin. And along the way it became a Brahmin. A Brahmin. You understand? And on this journey, I will show you how every religion is connected directly to Sanatan Dharma. Along this journey, Sanatan Dharma is not a religion. Sanatan Dharma is a scientific way for all living entities in this universe. That is Sanatan Dharma, eternal social cohesion. Eternal social cohesion. And I am happy that you have come forth. There is a reverend from the KZN Christian Council. There is a reverend from the KZN Christian Council who has cried after meeting Prince and cried even more after meeting myself, Prince, together. And he is going to be a big part in this movement forward. So this narrative that we are creating now, or recreating, Prince, this narrative we are recreating is going to reverberate through the KZN Christian Council and the South African Christian Council. And we're going to ask for a truth and reconciliation in terms of the Sun Nation. We want the Sun Nation to heal And we are going to get this Truth and Reconciliation Council established again, and I'm sure Bishop Desmond Tutu, in his wisdom today, in his spirituality, he left that one part unattended. For whatever reasons, that part was unattended. So we're going to make this happen. We are going to be joined by the greatest judges, magistrates, senior counsel, advocates. All these people are in place. God has placed them. I'm giving you this information long before it happens. Like I gave you the information that my mission is social cohesion and oneness long before it happened. Similarly, there are going to be a huge legal team that's going to take the San, the Khoi, the Griquas. There's 5 of them. I need to learn all the names, or 10. The San has 10 divisions. So it's going to take me a while in learning. I'm old now. Where's Tiveshni? Okay. Thank God she's not here. Otherwise she'll say my Acharya ji is a failure. He can't remember 10 nations. He wants me to remember my entire metric syllabus. Alright? God has a plan for me too. Tiveshni was not present at satsang today, so I don't get embarrassed. So Prince, food for thought and food immediately after parikrama. This is a unique satsang. I've been watching y'all's expression. Premila is used to going and singing bhajans and going home. Today she had the opportunity to listen to something that she thought only happens in schools. We said, Premila, that the universe is Lord Narayan's classroom, whole universe. And this is a real classroom. People are really going to learn. Me touching your head and you going outside blessed only helps you to the gates. When you go outside the gates of this ashram, the stark reality of the chaos of our government, our country remains. And that is the negative impact that I cannot assist you in. But by doing it this way, by changing the consciousness of our entire country, when I touch your head and walk out, the country must be conducive to rewarding you with the grace that I have given you. If I give you grace in this ashram and the country is not conducive to rewarding you with that grace, my grace falls at the gate. And that is why you say, when I enter the ashram I feel good, when I leave the ashram I don't feel good. So I want you to enter the ashram and feel good, go home and feel good, go to work and feel good, go around the country and feel good. And in order to do that, I'm on various groups in South Africa, various political groups, and there is so much of frustration. People want to do so many things, create so many things to change this government. You don't have to create anything. Just go on 2024, use your pen and kick the government out. That's how easy it is. That is how simple it is. Conscientize your family, conscientize your neighbors, conscientize your friends, and the only thing you have to tell them, don't vote ANC. That's how easy it is. You do not even have to carry a pen to the polling booth. The pen is there for you. Even the pen is given to you. All you have to do is don't vote ANC. You do not have to create an institution. You do not have to go to High Court. You do not have to do anything. You do not have to fight. You do not have to loot. You do not have to have protest like the protest we have in tomorrow. You do not have to do all of that. Look at how much of energy all of these things take. Mama, just tell your wife, please, Mommy, let's remove the ANC. Just you and Mommy can remove the ANC by simply putting a cross to a party of your choice. Those of you that do not have a party of your choice, then you put your cross to the party of your guru's choice. See how easy it is? Those of you can't choose, but first, party of your choice. Can you see how simple it is? This is called democracy. This is called democracy. Picking the pen up and putting a cross. Don't create, do not reinvent the wheel. We are busy reinventing the wheel by forming hundreds and thousands of parties. We do not have to form hundreds and thousands of parties. You know the DA was there. You know the DA has reached its limit. The DA cannot get any bigger. If a party cannot get any bigger, use your common sense. Look for a party. It's going to be a government of coalitions. That means many parties going to partner together. Look for parties that's going to partner together, that the leaders of those parties have moral and ethical values. Have moral and ethical values, and coalition partners must sign the agreement before the election. Any party that has not signed the agreement before the election, don't vote for them, because they will be opportunist. They will be opportunist. They will make a deal with the devil, to suit their own progress and not put the country first. All of you understand? So I'm giving you political education. Right now, don't worry about anything. Worry about how you're going to enter the polling booth and make a cross. That cross will remove the ANC government without anyone losing any life. Anyone losing any life. You need to reduce the ANC government not below 50%, because there are a lot of opportunistic parties that will form a coalition and give them 51% and they'll continue ruling. You understand? So you have to take them down. And how you take them down? By asking everyone to vote. By not voting, you're going to keep them there. It's a numbers game. By not voting, you are as guilty as the ANC. Whoever have not voted, you are voting for the ANC. So who didn't vote? Go home today, bang your head against the wall and say, I am singularly responsible for having the ANC where they are today. All right, Mama? Don't bang your head too hard. I need you here for a few more years. All right? Are there any questions? Any questions? So my instruction to all of you, if you are witnessing the Prince, Lord Hanuman and Lord Ram, I said a bona fide acharya. The name acharya indicates that whatever you teach, you must teach through practice. Then here we have the Ramayana week coming, and here's the evidence already given to you by the Prince. And in the Ramayana week, this coming week, as Sanatan Dharmis, it will cost you nothing to come to satsang. If you are celebrating your birthday on a weekday for 7 days, I'm sure you'll make time for your birthday being celebrated for 7 days between 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Don't let the prince put you to shame. Don't let the prince put you to shame as Hindus. He has come here from Maritzburg. Nobody lives here more than 10 kilometers from this ashram. Lord Ram is your Lord. Lord Ram is your Lord. Sanatan Dharma is your religion. Sanatan Dharmis always cry in every corner, what is God doing for me? I am asking you, what are you doing for God? What are you doing for God? Because Lord Ram will be present here at this ashram in his form as Lord Ram. The entire all the characters in the Ramayana will be present here at this ashram. So I don't see anyone having any excuse. Instead of sitting and crying, what does God do for me? Show God what you can do for Him. These discourses that you're going to get next week is for you. Lord Ram came down for you, not for himself. So you have to inject that consciousness into you as Hindus, as Sanatan Dharmis, and push things. Change your schedule at home and feel guilty that the Lord was here for 7 days and you could not come. Feel guilty. You understand? This is how Muslims feel 5 times a day. How Muslims feel? 5 times a day they feel guilty when they don't go to the mosque. I'm asking you for 7 days in a week. Do you understand? When you see that BMs, the Lamborghinis, the supermarket, don't be jealous of Abdul. Because Abdul goes to the Supreme Lord 5 times a day. And whatever the Lord gives him, he has earned it. Don't be jealous of Abdul. 7 days, 7 nights is nothing for you compared to 5 times a day. Biggest moaners, squealers, fighters of God are Hindus. Hindus want everything without sacrificing anything. Even Hindus want the government to change without going to the polling station. You can see India, poor Narendra Modi is the greatest prime minister of the entire world. He's brought India into first world status. But the Indians will still sit at home on social media. They swear him, they fight with him. So he had to have a coalition government, NDA, National Coalition Government. All of you understand? So Hindus, rise. Hindus, rise. You understand? Inject some consciousness in you. Inject some consciousness in you. I see in this group that I am in great, 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 great ideas. We don't want ideas. We want actuation of ideas. I started preaching in this ashram 10 years ago. I never preached ideas. I preached actions. I preached actions. I actuated my teachings. I put my teachings into practice. I don't want you to waste your petrol and come to the ashram. I don't want you to waste your 2.5 hours and come to ashram. If you can't take something from ashram and change your life, change your life. You understand? So this ashram, the word impossible does not exist. This ashram has no magic wand. This ashram, the Guru can't touch your head and make all your stories go away. But if you have faith in the Guru, and if you have faith in the Guru's teachings, then that faith can move mountains. And I've proven it. We have Prince sitting here today. In Guru Purnima, he'll give a speech, the significance of a Guru. And I'm sure many of you will be embarrassed and ashamed. But that is the Guru's master stroke, Rakesh Bhai. Guru's master stroke. Guru was a politician for 30 years. So Guru knows how to wheel and deal. Prince, you're going to put many of my disciples, of my followers, of my devotees, you're going to give them sleepless nights. They'll be dreaming of you. Prince, they'll be dreaming of you. Okay? Are there any questions? Any questions? Any question, Prince? Any question? You, ma'am? Okay, there are no questions. We're going to break for Aarti. Patikrama, it's a hot day. Whilst I'm having my lunch, I like to see you walking up and down from my kutir. And then those of you all that want to meet the Prince, Jay, you want to meet the Prince? Prince will be around for a little while. What time are you going to the airport? Okay, so you have little time with the Prince, and then he'll be leaving at 2.